Hello and welcome, everybody. It is Coach Action Jackson, and I'm here with another superstar, a Hall of Famer. This is my client, V. Now, I wanted her to share her story because she just absolutely got amazing results. She lost a couple of pounds of fat. She gained a couple of pounds of muscle. Specifically, she dropped 5% body fat. So what she did was she changed her body composition completely. She actually didn't lose any weight on the scale, which is incredible because so many people think the scale is the most important thing. So she didn't lose any weight on the scale. She offset by losing body fat, gaining muscle, 5% body fat dropped. Her thigh measurement went from 24.5 down to 24.5 inches off her thighs. And this is incredible. This is the most incredible thing because I don't think I've seen a transformation like this before. You lost 7 pounds off of your waist from start to end in just 16 weeks. So incredible. You are a superstar, a Hall of Famer. V, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Coach.
So why don't you introduce yourself to everybody out there, because we all want to know who's this superstar here. So introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is V. I live in Saratoga, California. I'm 36. I just turned 36 early this year. And I have 2 small kids, 2 and 4-year-olds, which means I just went through 2 pregnancies back to back, really, put a ton through my body. And my work is also a little crazy. I'm an executive in the tech industry. So my work demands a lot. My kids demand a lot. And I don't think I could have done this without you, Coach. So thank you for helping me guide through this. I don't think I can be any more grateful than this, because I think I've just transformed myself, transformed my body. I feel so much younger than I was ever. And I feel powerful, like strong. You know, most girls are kind of taught to be like not strong. And this has just transformed me so much. So thank you so much, Coach.
V, this is exactly why I wanted to share your story, is because so many women need to hear this. They need to hear your story about how you transformed yourself through strength training, right? Proper strength training, not just cardio, but through strength training, transformed your body completely. And also on a personal note, me and my wife are kind of in that process where we're starting to expand our family now. And my wife is just super worried, and she's just like terrified about what the pregnancies are going to do to her body and how she's going to be able to recover afterwards. So many women out there struggle with the same thing. They struggle with, okay, I had a family, I had these kids, and now how do I get back to my pre-pregnancy weight? Or how do I even get maybe even better? And it sounds like you're just doing so well now. So let's just go through the whole thing and just hear your story. So where did you start before you got into the program? Where were you at mentally, physically, emotionally? What was that like?
Absolutely. To start off, Coach, congratulations on your expanding family. That's incredible.
Oh, thank you. We're excited.
Yeah, it's an exciting journey, and it takes a lot out of us. Especially, I think as women, we go through so many hormonal changes, and you don't know when you're eating. Is it the hormones that are triggering? Is it the stress? Is it the kid not eating, the kid not sleeping? And a lot just goes into it. And I think the other main thing that most women go through, that I also went through, is you lose a ton of your core muscles because your belly is expanding, holding on. And it doesn't always like get very easy for you to recover very easily back. I had one natural birth, one C-section, which adds a lot more complications to it, and I also had it back to back, which meant I didn't get a chance to fully recover and lose all my pre-pregnancy weight. Post-pregnancy weight. So right after my second kid, this was like pandemic, and the places where they were doing the diabetes test that they do for pregnancy was the same place where they were doing COVID tests, and you had to sit there for like 4 hours. Imagine this is like March 2020 when I had to do this, and you didn't know what COVID would do to you or to a fetus. So what I ended up doing was going on a keto diet, and then I had a nutritionist. I was around 190 pounds when I delivered the baby. With strict keto for about a year and a half, I was able to cut it down to about maybe 150, 155 pounds. But doing that, the extreme restriction in terms of the number of food. The second thing is, because this particular nutritionist was not very well, I don't know, comprehensive in her plan, her main focus was calorie restrictions, which meant she had put me on like a 600 calorie OMAD, this 1 meal a day diet. And I was using my willpower like all the time. I had very little to give my kids and my family, and I was, snapping at them. The other main thing is I have two kids, 35 pounds and 42 pounds, and I'm constantly carrying them. So whenever I was carrying them, I was having backache. I was dealing with snapping at them because I couldn't carry them, and I felt not enough, not enough of a mother to be able to give them. And I was putting myself through this diet, which made me even more like emotionally a roller coaster, right? Thankfully, I got Tonal at the beginning of 2021, and it made me open up that, you know what, I can secure my back. But things weren't moving forward, and I think my nutrition plan just offset anything else I was doing in terms of workout. And I was in a stagnation, a plateau, and quite miserable because of it, emotionally, because I was clearly yo-yoing. As you can all imagine, a 600 calorie diet with, a very active lifestyle like mine that didn't sustain, which means on days when I didn't have the willpower, I was eating, I don't know, it didn't ever count. I had some foods that I would go to, which weren't the best options. It's peanuts. It's not the worst, but the amount of calories that a peanut can pack is it's insane. So I came to coach kind of at a place where I didn't know what to do. I was pushing myself for workout, pushing myself for nutrition, and things weren't working. Like, you can't put willpower on top of it and say magic happen. And that's where I started. I had a lot of determination, a lot that was expected of my life. So it's a tricky situation to be in when I didn't have too much time to give either.
Wow, B, that is a lot to unpack. So one thing that I want to say there is I just feel this emotion inside me listening to your story and thinking about my wife and everything that we're going through, because there's this battle that you have, this incredible battle of being a mom, but also wanting to be the best for yourself, right? And have the energy and be good for everybody else. So it's like, I want to feel confident. I want to feel good in my body and good in my skin and in my clothes, but I also want to be a good mom. So you have this battling thing going on where I have to diet and I have to lose weight and I have to do all this stuff to look better, but then it's putting you on edge, and then you don't have the energy or the patience to be able to deal with your family and to show up as the person you want to be. So it's just, God, it's so incredible how difficult that must have been. And I just feel so awful that you had to go through that, because the reality is that your diet wasn't supporting your goals and it wasn't integrated properly with your training. And so many times people, what they'll do is they either have no plan for the diet, which obviously we know doesn't work, or they'll have a plan, and you had a plan, but it's the wrong plan and it's working counter, it's working against you. And it's kind of like shooting yourself in the foot. You're going left and right trying to go at the same time, and it doesn't work. So when you have a diet like that, that's either not supporting your training goals and doesn't integrate properly with them, and you're working against yourself, or it's unrealistic, well, neither of those things is going to work long term. So you need to find something that integrates properly and complements your training protocols, but then also something that's realistic. And in this case, you're working out really hard, so you need something that's going to help your body recover properly, give you the macronutrients and the micronutrients that you need to recover, and then to get back at it again and show up and have energy and be the best for your family. But you also need a diet that's realistic and also allows you to hit your goals, lose weight, build muscle. Mm-hmm. And the ketogenic diet wasn't that for you. So we needed to find something that was a bit of a better fit, which we ended up finding. So what was the trigger? I always love hearing this. What was the trigger, if there was one for you? Was it a moment? Was it just a gradual that was like, I need to get coaching. I need to, reach out to Jackson or something. What was that? Was there a moment? Like, what was that like?
Mm-hmm. I think I've followed you, coach, on the Tonal I've done the 4-week to fat loss 1, 2, go big, go home.
Awesome.
So, and I think anytime your video ever came on, when they were showing any other program, I'd be like so inspired. So I've been a huge fan of yours.
Thank you.
And I think there's some energy that, you exude that I just so resonate with. I think I'm a very intense person. Like in addition to all these complexities, I have a pretty large team I lead, and so much I need to be on top of there. Otherwise things fall apart. And my friends, I have a bunch of like my husband and my cousins, a lot of people are on Tonal, and anytime they say Jackson, they're like, you're so much like him. We can't do Jackson, like he bears us down. But so they would always compare me to you. And then I was following your Instagram posts a lot, and I think you posted a success story thing back in August last year, and I was like, I need to be on it. I messaged you immediately saying why I'd be the best client for you, because I think, first of all, women go through this fitness journey very differently. They just want to get lean. They're so scared of getting muscular, especially postpartum. Like, you need to build back your core. And I don't think a lot of people think that way. They think, okay, just fat, lose fat.
Yep.
So I just thought, this is not just something that I do for myself, but I do for other, to my friends, to show them that this is how you get there. You won't become like those bodybuilder women. You can actually get leaner. And honestly, I don't think I've felt any sexier than I have so far, in spite of putting on a lot of muscles.
I love that. Yeah, the thing people don't understand, especially women, is that when you build muscle, you build muscle, you burn fat, right? You're increasing your metabolism, which allows you to eat more calories, and you're no longer eating that 600 calorie a day diet. You're eating an adequate amount of calories that's realistic, that you can stick to over the long term, that doesn't feel restricted, that gives you energy. But then what happens is that muscle, right? It's denser, it's smaller, it's more compact than fat. Fat is very large in volume, and muscle, an equal amount in terms of weight of muscle is very small and compact. So your clothes fit better, you're stronger. Again, your metabolism goes up, all of those things. So if you burn fat and build muscle, and you have that body recomposition, which is what you did, weight stayed the same, but you burn fat, build muscle, then what happens is your clothes fit better, you look better, you feel better, all of those things happen. And that's what women want. They want to look better, they want their clothes to fit better, they want to feel better and have more energy. And you've been able to do that. And I think you're just such an incredible example, because me and my wife, again, talk about this all the time. She's a career woman. She's got a very important job, a lot of responsibilities. She's got all these people that depend on her. She's got a team. Like, her career is important to her, and I want to support her in that. But then you also have the added burden of also having to be a mother, which is an amazing experience, I'm sure. Obviously, I don't experience it like you do, but it's hard. It's not easy. It's a responsibility. It's a big responsibility. So all these people counting on you. You have this big career, and you manage to do it all. Like, you're one of those women that manages to do it all. And I'm kind of in awe of you for that. And I'm just so thankful that you're sharing this again, and you're doing this because you are that example to people like my wife. And then I could be like, hey, look at V, like, she's able to do it, because it's overwhelming and it could be difficult. What do you want to say out there to other women who are like, V, how do you do it? I have the career, I have the family, but I just can't fit in the exercise. I can't fit in the diet. I can't do these things. Like, how do you do it all?
That's a very good way of putting it, coach. Honestly, I the first year of having the baby, both set of babies, I had put a pin on it, a pin on exercise. The There are times when you get to focus on a few things, and I think you cover this better than anyone else that I've heard. You can focus on everything at the same time, you'll just burn out. So there are specific goals you can pick up in a few areas of your life.
Yep.
Focus on them. Being a mother is not easy. I mean, especially the first time around, like I think your brain completely gets flooded with so many hormones. You are perhaps overwhelmed emotionally about like, uh, are you doing enough? Are you managing it enough? Do you have enough in you to be awake 20 hours a day and take 2-hour naps multiple times? Is that enough? And same thing at work, right? Like there's a lot of responsibility, and as a woman you kind of are like a giver, like you're wired to be a giver. So I think I would say focus is the right thing to say here. If you focus on the wrong things and not have a coach, you will perhaps spin out and burn out. And instead, I was I think only successful because you were able to like give me a clear plan that wasn't so restrictive that I felt like it was invading into my life. There was never a single day I felt I went to sleep hungry, or I had to distract myself to sleep because I was like my stomach was growling constantly. None of that happened. So it was like one of the easiest programs, honestly, compared to all the other things I had tortured myself into. And it's mind is like a buffet. So mind needs a buffet of things to do. If you are a mother who gives and that's all you do, great, good for you. If you also need to add a factor where you contribute to the society in whichever career way you want, good for you. But I think it's a balance that makes our mind thrive. And for me, I was doing all the external things. I wasn't doing anything for myself, and the thing I was doing to myself was honestly like this willpower torture to make myself like stick to a plan. But I think when you came along, when you told me, hey, just trust the program, just trust the process, things are going to happen, it just gave me that confidence that, you know what, I trust him so much. Look at how he looks, look at how he performs, look at all the videos. When it comes on the tonal, I'm like, that's the form, that's how I need to do it. So it just when I let go of it, it just made it so much easier to integrate into my life, compared to if I were to just try to do it all by myself. I don't think I could. And in the similar way, I have an executive coach who helps me with my work stuff. I think it's an essential thing to have to be successful.
Absolutely. And like I said, as a mother, you have more responsibility, more things than somebody like myself or any of the men that are out there listening. And you do need sometimes help and to rely on other people to take a little bit off your plate, but also to narrow down and filter your focus to say, hey, just execute on these things and kind of try to be able to fit it into your life. Because sometimes if you're trying to do it all on your own, then you get overwhelmed because you don't know what to focus on. You end up spreading out your focus, your energy, your attention too much. You waste a lot of time, and then you don't get the results you want. Mm-hmm. So by hiring me, kind of working with me, I focus your attention. This is exactly what you need to do and focus on X, Y, Z. You execute. We can manage that then fairly easily with attention and with energy. And same thing as you said, I have an executive coach. He helps me. What do I need to focus on for my work? Because you got so many things going on. That's the way you can get it all done, is by relying on help, outsourcing where you need it, but also filtering and narrowing your focus. And even to your point, you said there were times when I wasn't as focused and dialed in on my health, when my kids were young or during my first pregnancy, when it just didn't allow. So you got to then also make sure that the timing lines up for where your attention needs to be. It's kind of like this concept I learned from it's called the one thing, where you want to have a balance, but it's counterbalance. Sometimes your health is going to be maybe take a little bit more attention and energy. Sometimes your career will, sometimes your family will. It just depends on where you're at in life. And it's always a counterbalance, because we can't equally just give time and attention to everything every day. It's just too hard. We have to counterbalance. Today, is a workout day, so I'm going to spend a little bit more time on me today. Tomorrow's an off day, so I'll spend a little bit more time with my family or a little bit more time with work, and we just counterbalance that. So you're a great example of that, and you've done a fantastic job. So tell me, what were, you said it was an easy program because you weren't hungry and you weren't on the crazy restriction like you were before, which is awesome. You were able to fit the workouts into your lifestyle. You obviously got incredible results, but were there obstacles that you faced at all during the program? Like anything?
Coach, this was not an easy program by far. It was, in terms of willpower, it was. In terms of the actual program, you pushed us. And I think that was what I was looking for, and I got it. So I'm so grateful for it. It's in terms of nutrition, it was very easy to integrate it. I have a vegetarian diet, so
that's right. You're a vegetarian. A lot of people think can't lose weight as a vegetarian, or like, hey, it's just way harder. It does provide an additional obstacle, but you made it work. You made it work, right? Yeah. We helped you. We gave you the guidance, but you executed. You did a fantastic job. So all the other obstacles on top of that you had to face, you're also vegetarian, and you still made that work too.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe a few obstacles that I faced. One was in the first phase specifically was to really up the protein. I don't think I had ever had that much protein in my life before. And I heavily relied on whey for the first like 2-3 weeks. So I had a lot of stomach problems, digestion problems on account of it. I got over it actually pretty quickly, and my body started digesting whey, which is great because now I can very easily consume the protein intake that I need.
And just to touch on that a little further, most women tend to really struggle with protein. Some guys do too, but a lot of women really struggle with eating enough protein, and you need that protein in order to help fuel your muscles, help them recover, and to kind of like, it helps with thermogenic effect of food, meaning it burns more calories when you eat more protein. And it's normal to have some digestive issues anytime you change your diet. So anytime you work with a new coach or nutritionist or something, or you change and tweak your diet, it's very normal to see some issues in terms of digestion, stomach, whatever. Your body does adapt quickly, and that happened, which was good. So increase protein. That's a great tip out there, again, especially for a lot of women who are new to strength training. What other obstacles did you face?
Yeah. In terms of workout, I think I started with a very high strength score. You perhaps remember this, coach. I think I started around 1100.
Yeah, that's high.
And I was one of the things that got me to Tonal every single day was like, okay, I'm going to increase the strength score by some number all the time. And I think intentionally changing it to like, I care about the form. I care about I care about the quality of the workout I'm going to give my body. I think that was a big mental shift that I had to have. Basically, I stopped looking at the strength score and started connecting my workout with how I felt right after as in like the end of the day. Do I feel tired enough? Do I feel like I still have a lot of extra energy left? So that was the mind body connection I felt like I did. The strength score optimization is fun. It's fun when you're at low strength scores and you're you're gamifying to get to it every single day. But if you get injury, it sets you back so much. So maybe a quick digression. Back in summer, before I started the program, I used to do just strength score based optimization of my workouts, and I went pretty crazy with my goblet squats, and for I think 2 or 3 weeks I couldn't walk. I had like such bad shin pain, and I couldn't be around the kids. I had very hard time walking, went to the orthopedic, everything, and thankfully there were no problems. It was just that I had exerted my muscles so badly that it didn't recover well. So I think pacing ourselves and knowing the right goal to hit, because anytime you add a metric, and this is coming from like a tech industry, we add a metric, we'll optimize for it, and so knowing the right metric to optimize is important. Tonal does a good job gamifying it, but it's not just the perfect answer there.
100%. So what you're kind of alluding to there is when you only focus on strength and increasing the weight as a means of progressive overload, at some point you're going to plateau because the risk of injury goes up too high. And then you got to kind of pull back. So if you're only focused on strength score as the ultimate way of measuring your progress, at some point that's not going to work anymore. It's fun in the beginning, but at some point the risk of injury becomes way too high and you have to now focus on something else. And quality and form are going to be two amazing things, and time under tension is another great thing to take away there. So at some point, focus must shift to, how's my form? Is that dialed in? Is that perfect? Can I control this weight properly? And is this safe to do? We want to push our bodies, right? We want to push ourselves. We want to get uncomfortable. That's where the growth is, but we want to do it safely. And we want to do it in a manner that's going to help build and improve us, because to your point, if you get injured, it sets you back so far. It's 10 steps back if you get injured, which we don't want to do. So focusing on form, making sure you can control the weight, and then looking at other means for measuring progress, not just one, not just weight, not just strength score, but let's look at other things. Let's look at our weight, body fat, body measurements, progress photos, strength score, how I feel, how my clothes are fitting, right? Let's gain awareness on multiple things so that now we can assess the true progress we're making overall, not just in one specific area, which is great. Any other obstacles or insights or breakthroughs?
I think the biggest breakthrough for me is just a nutrition habit that it's a habit, and the workout habit, which is a habit. Like, I wake up in the morning.
I love that.
If it's a Monday, I work out. My brain is not thinking twice about it. And if it's Wednesday, okay, it's my break day. I don't work out. Like it's everything is like a habit at this point, including the nutrition. Like I eat something, I put it up in my fitness pal, so I know like how much I'm doing. Like the tracking is just automated almost in my brain. So it's super. How do you say, there are just muscles everywhere, so it feels like I can be on autopilot. Like the focus that was needed to establish this habit is paying off, because I'm able to do this and make it a part of my life, and I'm not like putting extra mental energy to do my workout, or using my willpower to do my workout or my nutrition plans.
I love that. And that's exactly what we promote and we try to teach in the program, is a sustainable program that you can do for life. Because who cares if you can get a great result just for a short period of time, for a vacation or for whatever? Like, we want to be able to maintain the results forever. So what we say is short-term accountability creates long-term responsibility, right? We help identify and build the skills. We help reinforce and ingrain those habits. And then by holding you accountable in the short term, we make you ultimately responsible for yourself in the long term. It's kind of like your kids, right? When you're a kid, you have to tell them, brush your teeth, brush your teeth, brush your teeth. But then at some point, they just brush their teeth. You no longer have to tell them. It's just a habit that they do. It's the same thing with workouts. It's the same thing with diet. We don't want to have some unrealistic, crazy plan that just requires all this effort and drains you like you had before. We want something that pushes you, yes, challenges you. Of course, it's not going to be easy, but it's something that you can do every single day. And it's something that you can turn into a lifestyle. So there's flexibility worked in, and you kind of, again, just develop these habits that become second nature. So now it's just your lifestyle. It's who you are. My client Lawrence talked about this in a video he did for me just a few weeks ago. He said his friend said, "Hey, you still on that diet?" And he said, "No, I'm not on a diet." And they said, "Oh, I thought you were on like some diet with Coach Jackson or like something you were doing." And he's like, "No, it's just a lifestyle. It's just how I eat. I just changed the way I eat. That's all." And again, it's flexible. It's not super restrictive, and it's something that you can maintain forever, because only 5% of diets work. Right? 5% of people who try to transform their body, only 5% work. And it's the 5% that work, it's where they convert it from a diet to a lifestyle, where they go from like, oh, I'm just going to use this unrealistic or this super restrictive approach. They go, okay, whatever approach I use to get to the goal is going to be the same approach I use to continue to maintain the goal. And an object in motion stays in motion. So it's not as hard to do once you get there. In the beginning, it takes activation energy, it takes a little bit more effort, A little bit more energy. It's a little harder. And it takes that accountability of somebody overseeing you and making sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, or helping you navigate obstacles and overcome things to, again, create these habits. But once they're there, it's like, okay, I got it. I know how to do it. And also, if I get off track, I know exactly how to pick it back up, because vacations, work, family, holidays, all these things derail people very easily.
Yeah.
But they're not going to derail you, because number one, we've coached you through it. We've taught you how to manage it as a lifestyle. And we've also given you the mindset strategies and shown you how to reclaim those habits anytime you get off track a bit. So we're raising your ceiling, but we're also raising your floor, which is a really important point.
Absolutely, coach. Maybe if I can add one small additional thing,
Yeah.
Especially as a person who was not used to eating a lot of protein, was pretty fat heavy. Keto diet is generally very fat heavy. I think I've been reading a lot about the proteins and how we absorb it, and now I have this mind-body connection about protein. I know when I'm satisfied, and I know if I try to give my body any other food, it will ask for so many more calories to satisfy its protein need. And so I did during the program, I didn't even take a single cheat day. I was like super strict. I'm like, I'm gonna give it my all and see how far I can go. Post the program, I did like experiment. One day I was like, you know what, today I'm not gonna count the calories, let's see how far I can get. I couldn't get very far. After a few more weeks, I tried again, like, okay, today I'm going to try to eat very poorly and see how far I can get. And actually, I made myself miserable. And then I swore off, like, I can never eat like this ever again. The food is not worth me feeling this way. So I feel like I know the right rhythm of how I need to feel post food, post digestion of food, and also how to regulate the total number of calories per day. Like doing this crazy restrictive diets that I've been doing is absolutely not worth it either. So you're so right in saying the floor and the ceiling, like it's capped, it's very clear, and when it's off of it, I feel it pretty strongly.
So what you notice there, and it's kind of funny, I've worked with Tony Horton a lot, and one of the lessons I learned from Tony Horton, because the guy's in his 60s and he looks like he's like in his 30s. He looks incredible. And one of the things that I learned from him was like, you don't want to deviate too far, like up or too far down. So, he's follows a certain diet, he exercises regularly, and he keeps his habits like all the time. And he doesn't deviate too far up and down. And I asked him about that, and he said, yeah, for me, it's just not worth it. He's like, I'll occasionally have things in moderation, but I don't want to go too crazy, because then the drawdown is too big as you get older. Yeah. So as you get older, I like to think very positively about aging, because there's studies that show if you think more positively about aging, you actually live longer and you live a more active life. So I like to think positively about aging, but our bodies, it would be naive to say our bodies don't get more sensitive. They do. As we age, they get a little bit more sensitive. Okay. So what you're kind of referring to, and what I've experienced too now that I'm 40, is that because your body gets a little bit more sensitive, you start to judge when you're operating at a very high level of performance. You're kind of like a Ferrari, right? Mm-hmm. You're like this Ferrari, this high performance, unbelievable, expensive machine operating at such a high level that if you deviate too far, and let's say you have a couple of slices of pizza, or you have some desserts or donuts, or you have a couple of drinks or something, one of those things, two of those things might not derail you too far. A little blurb, not a big deal. But if you go on an all-night bender, or you go on a binge or something and you go crazy, the deviation down is a pretty big drawdown, because your body is more sensitive, and you kind of don't feel good, and you're not operating at that same level. Mm-hmm. So while I still do drink alcohol, I still do eat cupcakes or pizza and other things, I eat them in far more moderation now, and I give them to myself more regularly. So the blip is a little bit of a drawdown that allows me to, again, not feel restricted and enjoy myself and do all those things. But it's not the big drawdown of like, I need a full cheat day, or like, anything like that, because the drawdown is not worth it. The dip in performance for me is not worth it. How I feel is not worth it. And I like how I am up here so much that, again, because of the flexibility, I don't feel restricted where I need it. Like I used to binge on cupcakes like all the time, and I would go like really strict for like a week or two. And then I'd be like, all right, it's Saturday, I'm gonna eat 3 cupcakes. And I would do that. And now I don't feel that need, because again, one of the lessons I learned from Tony was like, by having a little bit more moderation there, you're not going to have that drawdown and feel as bad. And on Sundays, I would feel kind of bad. I wouldn't feel good because all that sugar, I wouldn't sleep well. I'd be tossing and turning all night. And I'd wake up Sunday like, oh my God, feeling like I just went through war or something. And it was like, all I did was eat a bunch of cupcakes. But it was like, and that will happen occasionally. Let's not, go over the top. But that drawdown was not worth it. So now I give myself little treats throughout the week whenever I want them. I fit them into my macros. We call them in the program, we call them like clean treats or like, or approved treats. So we could fit them into our macros. We still see success and results, but we don't feel restricted. So we scratch the itch. We enjoy ourselves with the flexible dieting approach, but we don't feel as restricted. We don't need that drawdown then. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's a really interesting insight. So I want to be respectful of your time, so I don't want to take too much more of it, but you mentioned 1 or 2 more things I want to touch on. You mentioned feeling sexier than you ever have before. You mentioned obviously women, strength training. Like, I just think this is such an important point. I want to come back to it one more time before we wrap up. What is your advice out there to women who, whether they're in the community or not, they're interested in lifting, what's your advice to women out there who want to get into strength training as far as achieving their dream body, their dream physique, and really transforming themselves?
Oh, very good question, Coach. I think my one piece of advice is don't be too restrictive in how you think about your exercises. I've been on cardio specific programs for a long time, being scared of becoming super muscular. Unless you are on steroids or take a lot of like crazy supplements, you're not going to put on such crazy muscle and become a man. If you put on muscles, you will look more leaner because like Coach said, fat occupies a lot more volume than muscle does. So you actually get toned. It's very hard for us to actually become so big and muscular. Our shoulders like pop out. It's very hard. So I think it's about really how you think about your long-term success. Like, I would say, think about how your last 5 years of your life is going to be. You want to be preparing for that, which means you need to have enough of your muscle mass, your bone density, so that you can be independent in last years of your life, whether it's in your 80s or 90s. And to prepare for that, I think being open to other ways of becoming stronger is important, rather than just focusing on losing the fat, because fat will come and go based on your calorie changes. Just hyper focusing on that will not set you up for a long-term success. Also, putting on muscle means that you're expending a lot more energy day by day, which will eat in a lot more calories you can take up. So in that sense, you're trying to create this ecosystem that can function well and function without injuries for a long time. Maybe one last thing I want to add, especially for women who've lost a lot of their core muscles, which happens during pregnancies, building that back is super critical. I think we all just focus on the postpartum paunch that we get, the belly we get. The right way to fix it is to really get a lot of core muscles. Of course, you can do some of it with yoga and stretches, but I think the real stronger way you can do to build it as a muscle and improve it day by day is to focus on strength training and giving it that extra push every single day. So do try it out for yourselves, women, and see the transformations that you can create here. It's not always easy to like counteract the other hormonal changes you perhaps have. This is, I don't know, one of the most straightforward ways, almost, I feel, to do it without like becoming too restrictive on, either your fat or your protein or your carb, in whichever way you want to go. I think it feels almost comprehensive almost, and doesn't deviate too much from any lifestyle that you want to have.
I love that. So just putting a bow around all of that. So don't be too restrictive, right? Because the restriction isn't going to give your body what it needs to recover. Of course, you want to be in a caloric deficit to lose body fat, but you can't be so restrictive that it's not a realistic plan. Second thing, strength training. To your point, you said it so well. It's not going to turn you into this, ginormous CrossFit woman, unless that's your goal. That takes years and years and years of incredibly hard training and nutrition and everything. Strength training is not going to turn you into a monster. It's not. It's very, even guys when they say, "Hey, Jackson, I don't want to become a bodybuilder." I'm like, "I'm sorry, man, but like, you're 40 years old. I think you missed your chance to become a bodybuilder. It's not that easy." So it's not going to turn you into a monster if you're doing strength training. It's going to make you look leaner. It's going to make you look more toned. It's going to make you more compact, and you're going to be stronger, more bone density to live that long, healthy, active life, and to show up for your kids, for your partners, your spouse, your family members, your obviously colleagues and coworkers, the people you're leading at work. It's going to allow you to be a better version of yourself for all of those people. And I'm just so proud of you, because you're taking this in your health and fitness so seriously, and you're such an example and inspiration to so many people, like my wife, again, who just, you're doing it all. You've had the kids. You look fantastic. You've completely transformed yourself. Your energy is infectious. So thank you for doing that. And also, I mentioned this a lot, but my mom passed away at 70 years old because she didn't take her health and fitness seriously. And the amount of pain and the time that we lost because she's not here anymore. It was just Christmas a couple months ago, and it was her favorite holiday. And we went off to Cabo with my dad because it's kind of sad to not experience Christmas with her. And I just think about my dad. He exercises almost every day, eats healthy, takes his health and fitness seriously. He's 74. He's not on one medication. And my mom passed away, and it's just awful. So I appreciate so much what you're doing. It means a lot. And I always tell people this, but it's so true. The journey that you're on is so much more important than you think it is, because there's so many other people that you're inspiring, and you're an example to so many. So thank you, B, for being an example to women out there who want to have the career, who want to have the kids and the family, but also have a fantastic body that they feel really proud of and confident about as well. You're a shining example to so many women out there. So thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Really sorry to hear about your mother's passing away. It's always such a hard thing to see your near dear ones who you can't always change their journey. But I think the best we can do is be the example so people can get inspired by us. What would you say? Be the change you want to see in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And show the possibility of things actually happening. I come from I'm Indian. I come from a long lineage of vegetarians who eat mostly a rice diet. There's very little fat or protein in it, and my family suffers from diabetes, hypertension, and it's just a norm. It's like, okay, you're 40, you need to have diabetes. And I'm about to prove out there that when I turn 40, I'm not going to have diabetes, and I'm not going to have a lot of these problems that my family has, and show them the way that they can transform themselves as well.
Absolutely. Because you could preach all day to people, but if they're not ready to hear that message, they're not going to change. The best we can do is be the example, and then hope that they come around and say, "How did you do that?" Or, something like that. And then we can be like, "Well, here, I'll show you," or "Here, I'll help you." But you are a shining example. And you're right. When people get to a certain age, they think aches and pains, they think gaining body fat, having diabetes, being pre-diabetic, like all these things are just quote unquote normal. They're not. We don't have to live that way. We can blow the ceiling off of this, and we can live a life seemingly without limits. We can accomplish so much more than we usually think and give ourselves credit for. You're stronger, right, than you think. You've done so much more than you think. You're, again, such an incredible example, and you're living an amazing life. And I could see you already 40, 50, 60 years old being that crazy fit, like healthy, active, amazing mom and career woman. That's just, again, an example to so many people. So don't slow down. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep taking action, of course. And thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here.